In a small village deep in the forests of Ghana, there lived a clever spider named Kwaku Ananse. Known for his wit and cunning, Ananse was feared and respected by both friends and foes alike. His reputation as a trickster had spread far and wide, and tales of his exploits were whispered by the fireside on many a night. One day, while spinning a new web in a tall baobab tree, Ananse overheard a conversation between the animals below. They were discussing a grand feast that the king of the animals, Lion, was hosting the next day. The feast would be a magnificent event with plenty of food and drink, but it was only open to those who could bring a gift worthy of the king's attention. Ananse's mind raced. He had nothing of value to offer, but his desire to attend the feast was strong. He knew that where there was a will, there was a way, and if anyone could find a way, it was Kwaku Ananse. Ananse decided to visit his friend, Turtle, who was known for his wealth of delicious yams. Turtle was slow, both in movement and in mind, which made him an easy target for Ananse's schemes. The spider greeted Turtle warmly, complimenting him on his fine shell and strong legs. "Turtle, my friend," Ananse began, "I've heard that the king is hosting a feast, and I thought of you. Your yams are the finest in the land. Would you be so kind as to give me some to present to the king? In return, I'll make sure you get the credit for your generosity." Turtle, flattered by Ananse's words, agreed without hesitation. He gathered the largest yams he could find and gave them to Ananse, who promised to speak highly of him at the feast. But Ananse had no intention of sharing the credit. He knew that if he arrived with such a splendid gift, the king would shower him with praise and favor. The day of the feast arrived, and Ananse proudly presented the yams as his own gift. The king was indeed impressed, and Ananse was invited to sit at the head of the table, a place of honor reserved for the most esteemed guests. As the feast progressed, Ananse reveled in the attention he received. He told stories of his cleverness, each tale more exaggerated than the last. But just as the feast was reaching its peak, a voice called out from the entrance of the great hall. It was Turtle, slowly making his way to the gathering. He was tired from the journey, but he had come to witness the event and, he hoped, to receive some recognition for his yams. When Turtle saw Ananse sitting in the place of honor, his heart sank. He quickly realized that Ananse had taken all the credit for the yams. "Ananse," Turtle said calmly, "those yams you brought, they seem familiar. I wonder, did you plant and harvest them yourself?" The other animals turned to look at Ananse, who hesitated for a moment. Then, with a sly grin, he responded, "Why, Turtle, you know I'm skilled in many things, including farming." But Turtle was not easily fooled. "Perhaps," Turtle continued, "but there's something I must share. The yams you brought as a gift, they came from my garden." The animals gasped, and the king looked at Ananse with narrowed eyes. "Is this true, Ananse?" the king asked sternly. Caught in his lie, Ananse tried to talk his way out, but the animals had heard enough. They realized that Ananse had tricked his friend, and they began to murmur among themselves. The king, now angry, ordered that Ananse be removed from the place of honor. "You have shown great disrespect, Ananse," the king declared. "From this day forward, you shall be known as a trickster and a liar. Let this be a lesson to all. Deceit will not be rewarded." Humiliated and disgraced, Ananse was left with no choice but to leave the feast. But as he slunk away, his mind was already working on a new plan. Ananse knew that he needed to regain his status, and he decided to do so by tricking someone even more powerful than himself. He set his sights on Elephant, the largest and strongest of all the animals. Ananse approached Elephant with a proposition. "Elephant, I have a challenge for you," he said. "I bet you can't lift a rock that I can lift with ease." Elephant, confident in his strength, laughed at the idea. "Very well, Ananse. Show me this rock, and I'll lift it with one hand. Ananse led Elephant to a large boulder by the river. Here it is, Ananse said, but I must warn you, it's heavier than it looks. Elephant scoffed and bent down to lift the boulder. To his surprise, it wouldn't budge. He tried again, using all his strength, but the boulder remained firmly in place. See, I told you, Ananse said with a smirk. Now, watch as I lift it with ease. Ananse scurried behind the boulder, out of sight. He quickly spun a thick web, attaching it to a tree on the other side of the river. Then, with a tug on the web, the boulder appeared to rise slightly off the ground. Elephant, amazed by what he saw, couldn't believe that Ananse had such strength. How did you do that? Elephant asked, bewildered. It's all about technique, Ananse replied, still pulling the web. It's not just strength, it's knowing how to use it. Elephant was so impressed that he offered Ananse anything he wanted in return for teaching him the secret. Ananse, ever the opportunist, asked for a large portion of Elephant's food supply. Elephant, eager to learn the trick, agreed. But when he tried to lift the boulder again, without Ananse's web, it remained immovable. Realizing he had been tricked, Elephant roared in anger, but by the time he turned around, Ananse was gone, having already escaped with the food. Though Ananse's tricks often got him into trouble, they also taught him valuable lessons. He learned that while cunning could help him outwit his friends and foes, it also made him enemies. But Ananse, ever resourceful, knew how to turn every situation to his advantage. As the years passed, the animals came to respect Ananse not just for his cleverness, but for the wisdom he gained from his many adventures. He became a storyteller, sharing the tales of his tricks and the lessons he learned with anyone who would listen. And so, Kwaku Ananse, the spider trickster, continued to weave his webs, both real and metaphorical, spinning stories that would be told for generations to come. This story of Kwaku Ananse serves as a reminder that while cunning and wit can lead to success, they must be tempered with honesty and integrity. For in the end, true wisdom comes not from deceit, but from understanding the consequences of one's actions.